And we are live.
Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Leaders Lead the podcast. I'm super excited today. This is a special live edition of Leaders Lead the podcast. I have not been going live because I would just tell you, it just didn't make sense. Right? I'll be really candid with you. My goal is to get people to listen to us on the podcast, and I started noticing that we weren't focusing and giving enough value where we should be given value. And I would come on when, basically I just felt this feeling, and I got this feeling now with Conner Furu. Conner, and let me know, Conner, did I say your name correct? Conner's in the green room. Conner Furu. All right, he'll let me know when we get back in. I totally butchered that, but that is not because Conner is not a man of importance. Conner has something really special in him, and he's been through so much, man. And just listening to his story, I'm like, dude, I cannot contain it. I cannot wait to drop this episode. I have to do it today. Not only am I going to stream it today, but I got this feeling to upload it to the podcast today, which usually we're booked out a couple months. That's not because of me. That's because of y'all. Y'all have made this show a success. I want to say thank you for getting us to where we are in the top 5% global of all podcasts. And that's because of people like y'all. That's because of our great guests like Conner Furu. We are going to change the world together today because his story, I started listening to it, and everything that I got from it was pain and perception. Conner is only 23 years old. And listening to his story, you think that he's like an old grizzly veteran from Iraq or Afghanistan, even Vietnam, right? That's talking to this guy. I'm not saying that, my veterans that watch the show, don't start coming at me, right? But I'm going to tell you right now, this kid, and I say it lightly, right? Because I want to be quoted for saying this. This kid is going to be a future legend. He's going to be a future legend because not just because he went through the pain, but because he went through the pain and now he has the perception and he has the goal and the vision to help heal other people. Welcome to the show, Conner.
Man, I appreciate that. I was juiced up for it. I mean, a large part of me feels like I didn't deserve that much of a great intro, but I appreciate it, man.
Dude, of course you deserve it. Of course, man. I'm gonna tell you, just like I just got this feeling just to tell you, man, you do deserve it. You deserve it because you're here and you have a purpose and you're fulfilling that purpose, man. I'm so inspired by you. I'm so inspired by your story. It looks like we got folks popping in already from LinkedIn, folks popping in, Facebook. Look like we got Facebook, a couple different feeds going on. Man, Conner. Was looking at your story. It said that you played Division I football, man. That's pretty impressive, man. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, originally growing up in Olympia, Washington, I went to school at Black Hills High School in Tumwater, Washington. I think so far, there's been 2 or 3 of us to go Division I in the 20-some year history of our school. So it's not often. In high school, I had a plethora of injuries, and I was blessed enough to get an opportunity to go to Drake University. I mean, my adversity through injuries and stuff didn't stop there. But everything I have is because of the adversity I faced and the experience I've had. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Wow. Wow, man, that's pretty good stuff right here in Olympia, Washington. Man, you could have came to the studio, brother.
Well, yeah, right now I'm back in my apartment in Des Moines, Iowa. So,
Okay.
I mean, that would have been great, but it just didn't work out like that, unfortunately.
Oh, that's good, man. So you're a coach. You're a coach right now,
No,
right?
I just finished up coaching actually, and I played my 4 years at Drake, or put in my time. I'm sure we'll get into my my career there, but afterwards, instead of taking my 5th year, I decided to join the staff because I initially thought that was going to be that I've always thought that was going to be my route. My goal was because to be a college football coach was because my coaches growing up were like my dad's, honestly, and I wanted to be that for someone else because I knew like if I didn't have those men in my life, I don't know where I'd be. But then shortly towards the end of the season, I realized that that's not the only way I can be that for other people. And I'm almost limiting myself to that and diminishing the impact I could have by, solely being a college football coach. And I'm sure I'd get a ton of joy out of doing it. I'm sure I'd live a fulfilled life, but I don't want to limit the impact I can have on people. And I think reaching out to a wider group, not just athletes, was a route that I wanted to take.
Wow. So you're right now, and we're gonna what we'll do because I like starting at where we're at,
Yeah.
and then where we're going because I feel like a lot of times what we do, and I've been guilty of this too, man. It's just like focusing on the past. I want to set the stage. I want everybody to know where Connor's going and where Connor can take you. And then we're gonna go back because I think that's important. I think our history is really important. Our history it makes us. It's a makeup of us. It doesn't define us because what defines us is going forward and where we're at today, where we're trying to go. That's what's going to define us. The past it's definitely refined us, but it does not define us. So what are you doing? What are you doing right now, and where are you going, man? Who you bringing with you?
Yeah, so for the past 4 or 5 months, I've been speaking with a lot of different high schools, youth groups, FCA groups, literally anyone. I've been reaching out to anybody and everybody that wants to have me in front of their organization or group because I want to share my story. I believe it's something that can help people. So I've talked to groups of 5 people. I've talked to groups of 200 people. It just like I don't care if out of 100 people, 99 people go leaving with nothing. If one person does, that's all I ask for, and that's what I hope for. And so, I'm not afraid. I've got to be on a couple podcasts, and now I'm blessed to be on yours to share my story. And so I'm kind of living in the moment right now. I definitely have big dreams for the future, but I'm just trying to get into as many eyes, ears, as possible, or in front of as many eyes and ears as possible, just to help as many people as I can.
Wow, yeah, dude, that's good stuff. I mean, you could literally be doing anything, man. You're a freaking college graduate, right? You graduated, you have your bachelor's in psychology,
Yep.
right? I looked up on you, man. I looked up on you. Bachelor's in psychology, Division I athlete, and you were a coach. I'm pretty sure you could have stayed and you could have went someplace else to coach, right? In college, you could have been doing this, but you're choosing to use your voice. And I think a lot of people, especially the folks that are watching this, the people that are just going to listen to this on the podcast, I know I'm connected to a lot of people, and it's taken them 30 years to get to that point to where they're like, you know what? My voice needs to be heard because there's people that need to be healed from the things that I've gone through. It took me a while. It took me, dude, a breakdown at work, man. I was at the height of of my career, right? The height of my career. I had never made as much money as I was making. And, you know, on the outside, dude, I was freaking killing it. But I was dying on the inside because I needed to be doing this work that you have volunteered to do. And this work is healing. So, man, I applaud you for that. And I just want to use my board, man. And freaking, I applaud you. I think that's awesome. So 23 years old. I love that. I love that. Freaking, it reminds me of a freaking lion, dude. 23 years old, in the business of healing. So if I'm curious, man, what you've had to go through something. What was your childhood like? What was it? You know, what was your childhood like? What was it professionally like? What at what point like gave you this sense or gave you the background to want to even try to help heal people?
Yeah. So growing up, like on the surface, like most people didn't know what I was going through when I was going through it. When I was growing up, my parents divorced when I was 8 years old. On my father's side of the family is a long line of alcoholism, substance abuse, mental illness, and other things. But growing up, I was told to change my name numerous times. Made me feel like I wasn't worth anything.
Change your name for what?
Because for whatever, I mean, as a young kid being told 8 years old, my father was just I believe he repressed his emotions and his past anger, and he kind of projected it on us because he wasn't fulfilled or happy with his stance in life. But nonetheless, I found worth in the sport of football. Growing up, I mean, I was successful. Like I said, you know, got on to go to play Division I football at Drake University. But I mean, there was a lot of times where I had a lot of injuries. I mean, in my 8th grade year, I snapped my left tibia. My freshman year, I snapped my right tibia. My junior year, I snapped my collarbone. And then my senior year, I tore my ACL. And so luckily I had enough success under me where I got the notice of college coaches and stuff as well. But I mean, my struggles didn't end there, medically for sure. But I had this from, 8 years old. I had this goal of like, since I was told to change my name and I wasn't worth it, I was like, I'm going to be worth more than anyone before me. Like, it's like, I have an obligation to do that because of the, I mean, I'm grateful for all of it. I want to preface this by saying this because I believe that because I allowed myself and because I've gone through things, I understand what I never had. And so I believe I'm better able to give everything I never received. Because
wait, say that again, Conner. Say that again, please.
Because I understand what I never had, I'm better able to give all of which I never received. And because I had a struggling relationship with my father, that allowed, I had football coaches that became like my father figures, and I wouldn't have as deep appreciation for them or deep appreciation for what they did for me if I hadn't had the neglect by my father. And I think that.
So was it? Did you have? So was it just your father was in your household growing up?
No. So luckily, my parents divorced, and I lived with my mom predominantly. I spent, 12 hours with my dad every 2 weeks,
Okay.
kind of thing.
So they were divorced. They were divorced,
yeah,
right?
They were divorced for the majority. I don't remember much before that they weren't, but I saw it's like, here's this guy who ideally when you're a father, I assume I'm not one, but like, here's this person as a son I should be aspiring to be,
Right.
And then being told those things of like changing your name and not worth it. And then also then turning around and
That sucks hearing that from your namesake. That sucks their names, your name, saying that to your namesake, like change your name because you're not worthy. That sucks, man. I'm sorry that you had to freaking go through that. I know you're not, because it's helping you, right?
Yeah, but at the time, I mean, I have perspective now. You kind of said that, and I believe that. I don't believe my father meant those things from his heart. I just believe that he had so much undealt with pain with his substance abuse and things like that, and then through his childhood and with his father and things like that. I mean, I traced substance abuse over a century in my family, and to me, it's like there's a pretty big generational curse, and when something that big is looming over you, a big reaction has to, come to counter it. And so I believe I'm that counterpunch to that century of, or century plus of, pain and suffering and whatnot. But I believe it was just repressed feelings by him. And that I don't believe he really meant those things now. But I believe I'm grateful because they forged me, and they gave me the mindset that I have. And I value relationships so much more. I have two beautiful nieces. Like I love them so much, and I know for a fact they will never suffer any neglect by the hands of me or my future kids or future spouse or anything. Like they're going to be annoyed at how much I love them because I know what it's like not to have that.
Yeah. Wow. That's what I told y'all if y'all heard me saying before that, you're amongst you're amongst a future legend in freaking Conner. Yeah, you know that I'm right, man. Your depth is just so freaking deep in that perception. Like I said, there's people that go in the grave that are quote unquote grown ups. They never got a chance to get that perception. Just the fact that you got it, I think is amazing. There's a lot of people that can stand to learn from you, man. I'm learning from you. Normally when I'm going live, man, I'm writing notes and stuff like that as far as oh, this was good, make sure we use this, because that's kind of how my brain works. But I'm taking notes. Some of the quotes that you're saying, I can apply in my life. It just makes so much freaking sense. Because I feel like especially when we're talking about perception, right? When you've gone through the things that you've gone through, I'm pretty sure when you hear stuff like, oh my God, I don't have enough followers on Facebook or Instagram for, from other people, or, oh my God, there's drama, or, oh my God, I just like saying, oh my God, right? You start hearing that. I bet you hear that and you're just like, dude, whatever, right? Like, because sound like the places that you've been, freaking, they ain't got nothing on the stuff that they're talking about, especially the places that you're going. Are you aware that you do have a special perception?
I mean, I've never been asked that. I think everyone has the ability to take a self audit of their life, take a step back and allow kind of to look at yourself in third person and, really, analyze your situation and perceive how, that could potentially have been, happening for you and not to you. But I mean, I wouldn't say I'm unique. I believe I've gone through experiences, but I've just allowed those experiences to, there's one of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes, and I'm going to butcher it, but essentially it was, I'll allow my experiences to change me, but I won't allow it to reduce me. And so I'm constantly looking for ways to learn. I'm an avid reader, listening to podcasts, but also taking time for myself each day to really think and look at my situation in third person and look at where I've been and what I've gone through, but not put too much focus on that, appreciate it. But I saw this Steve Harvey quote recently that was saying, it's if you live your life or, live your life looking through the rear view mirror, you're going to crash, eventually. And, I appreciate everything that's happened. But that's also part of me, like, that's in the past. You know, I'm very future oriented, but I'm also, I think a lot of, like, a huge problem in today's world is people having so much focus on the outcome. Like how, like, and if you put so much focus on how, like, the fine details of how the outcome is going to turn out, you're going to be dissatisfied no matter what, because it's not
right.
I mean,
I agree.
yeah.
But yeah, why do we do that? Because I think we all have a tendency to focus on that. Why do we do that, man?
I mean, comparison's the thief of joy in the age of social media. Like, I mean, you see someone, you're comparing yourself to someone, how someone is today, but while you should be comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. You know,
yes.
you're trying to take one big step when you should be taking, you know, don't worry about what other people think or whatnot. Like, one thing I share with all the athletes I talk about is, from my last high school game to my first college game was 1,646 days. It was 4.5 years. And I went through 2 ACL tears, a shoulder reconstruction, of season being canceled due to COVID. And then we were given a spring season in the spring of 2021. And through that time, I was a running back. So it's like, I was a downhill guy, and I wasn't necessarily in love with the aspects of, you know, getting all the recognition and, like, with the touchdown stats or anything. I was, you know, I was like pound the rock right up the middle. I wasn't like a speedy type back, but I'd be lying to say that I didn't want that recognition. I didn't want those, you know, big highlight games, highlight reels about me and whatnot. But after that time span, my first college game, which was in the April of 2021, was I had, in an inter squad scrimmage, I had busted my hand where I couldn't carry the ball. But I was like, listen, to my coaching staff, like, I'll play any special teams, anything. Like, I need to play, basically. And then on a punt coverage unit, I ran down the sidelines, and the returner reverse field, and I made a solo tackle. And that was like my only stat I had at that time in college. Like, I ended my college career with a tackle and a half in 3 games. I had the same amount of reconstruction surgeries as I had games played in college.
Wow.
And I get up from the tackle, and I look back, and the sidelines are going absolutely nuts. Not because of what I did, but what they knew was put into that one play. Everything that went into that one thing.
Because they knew you were hurting, right?
Yeah. I mean, I walked out on the field with 2 shoulder braces, knee brace, clubbed hand, like there was, like, it took me 45 minutes before practice and games to even be ready to warm up, right? And so, but then I looked at how happy everyone was for me, and I realized that all the time and energy I had spent wanting those kind of superficial things was time wasted. I mean, I looked back and I realized that everything I prayed for throughout my college career wasn't answered, but everything I should have been praying for was. You know, yes. The entire time, like, I had, I prayed for 100-yard games, and I prayed for, you know, that recognition from like outside sources who, you know, if anything, it was just going to be a like on Twitter or something, you know. But I realized that instead of 100-yard games, I had hundreds of relationships I know are going to last a lifetime. And 100 relationships, I mean, I told you, like, I struggled with valuing myself and, like, feeling my worth. And I realized, like, all those people in that moment made me feel more
because
worth
of your past, right?
Yeah, exactly. And all those people in that moment for that one tackle, which wasn't anything special, was like, that made me feel more worth than any 100-yard games could have ever done. And I wanted to travel the country and play. Like, Drake plays all over. We have a very, you know, wide conference. But I got to travel the world. I got to be a part of my team in my sophomore year. We went over to China to play the first ever Division I football game in Beijing. My junior year, I went through with an organization through one of our offensive coaches to India, and I stayed 2 weeks in and worked with a safe house for young girls who had been trafficked. And so it's like, I was exposed to all these things. And if I would have been focused and only, you know, pigeonholed myself into what I wanted the outcome to be, I would have never been able to perceive those things. And, like, I would have neglected and undermined who I became along the way, you know? And so whenever I talk to young athletes and I say, like, you know, having goals is great. You need goals so you can measure like where you're going and how, like, you know, the pace of what you're going. But if you put too much emphasis on the outcome, you're going to inevitably be not as satisfied, and you're going to do a disservice to who you became throughout that process. And so I talk about being mission oriented opposed to goal oriented. And so having goals under the umbrella of your mission. But one thing I had on my locker all throughout college was Romans 5:3-4, which was not only so, but I'll glory in my sufferings, because suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And I realized that this actually came true for me, because I had worked so hard, and I struggled with my role. I struggled with my role on the team. I was like, I'm injured. I haven't played at all. What's my role on this team? Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to work as hard as possible so no one else has an excuse not to. Because if Conner, who has zero, you know, stats, zero anything, if he's showing up every day working as hard as possible, what's my excuse, kind of thing. And I didn't know I had fulfilled that until after my last football game, when I was standing with my mom at like an after game function. Two of the younger guys came up to me who had, you know, one had an ACL tear, another had just had some nagging injuries, and told my mom in front of me that, like, because I, you know, didn't give up, that didn't give them an excuse not to. And so, like, that was just like, I almost started crying, because I was like, that was my role that I had given myself fulfilled in that time. And so I didn't know if everything was ever going to work out the right way, but I knew that if I worked as hard as possible, I'm going to deserve everything that I do get, you know, from that.
And it happened. It happened.
Yeah. And it happened. And I think that I mean, there were nights that I was actually referred to a sports psychologist when I was on the team, because I was so mentally, I was just struggling all throughout college. There was weeks that, like, our coaches were worried about me because I didn't speak. Like, I would work out really hard and then try to go to bed as fast as possible because I hated being awake. It was just the mental, like, pain of, like, not feeling my worth. And it's like, am I wasting my time here? And then, you know, going through all that, like, and I think I believed I needed to go through that. Yeah. But it was just brutal. And I actually got referred to, like I said, a sports psychologist, because our coaches were like, we're not qualified to help you. And I had always, you know, dealt with things myself. I isolated. Like, I was like, like that whole man mentality of, like, I'm going to deal with this on my own. And I ended up going to a sports psychologist. It didn't end up working out. It just wasn't a great fit. But in that moment, I realized, like, that was when I realized that it's okay to not be okay, and I can talk to other people. So I started reaching out to other people, and I stopped isolating, and that's when I dug myself out. And I mean, this whole facade that, like,
so it was your community, right?
Yeah, I stopped closing myself off from the resources that were at my disposal. I was just too prideful to take advantage of them, you know, because I believe that's what we needed to do.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm just blurting out words when I hear you say stuff like that, because I think it run parallel, not just to my life, but a lot of the different people that are in my life when they're going through something. It's not just okay, what can I do to get out of this situation to change the future of my life? And you talked about that so eloquently when you said that a lot of folks, they focus on that one goal, especially college athletes and also, you know, professional athletes. They're focusing on that championship, or they're focusing on, you know, getting to a certain level, and that one thing that's so far out, they're not necessarily looking at what's in front of them, the things that they have to do. And even in that, and listening to your story, what I hear is, even that thing that you're working on, right? It's because everything ain't gonna, that's how life is. Everything ain't gonna work out the way that you expect it to work out. And that's one thing that I learned from life, and that I'm learning from you. And I hope that the folks that are watching this, that they're getting from you, is that it's going to change. Nothing is going to remain the same. But when you get ready for a process, you get ready to endure on whatever it is that your goal is. It's good to have goals, but I got this from Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas. Now, you need to be committed to being committed to the process. And what being committed to the process looks like is having the understanding that just because it's this way today, that don't mean that it's going to be that way tomorrow. But if you're committed to being committed to the process, you're committed to overcoming the obstacles that are going to come in your way, because there's going to be obstacles. Let me look at this comment. Janelle Stewart said, "This is good. Thank you. I appreciate it. It is good, man. I got goosebumps. I don't know if you can see them, man. Conner, yeah. Most athletes go in with one outcome, and when they don't achieve that, they have an identity crisis. Seen this with so many Iowa State football players. Yeah, I see it quite a bit with some of my friends, man. I got some. I did professional boxing for a while, and that was one thing. I was a lazy dude, so I wasn't a good fighter as a pro. I was really good as an amateur, but I would notice those dudes when they would, and gals, 'cause I know a couple couple of my good friends, like one of them, like she just can't get over this one loss, or can't get over the fact that they're not a world champion anymore. And it's just like, okay, what's in front of you? Like, what's in front of you? What is it? Like there's something in front of you, right?
Yeah. And I think like when I talk about being mission oriented, one thing I really, like to say to young athletes is having that. It basically breaks itself down to being a transcending why, having a why that transcends to all forms of your life, not just into that sole one aspect. Because that's when you can have, like, as long as your goals are under that umbrella of that transcending why, like that why is going to push you. And then once, we're all going to be told to hang up the cleats, hang up the boxing gloves at some point in our life. We could be 18 or we could be 38, or, Tom Brady's 40, going to be 45 or whatever, it's like, but everyone's going to be told. And if you don't have that why that is pushing you in all your aspects of your life, not just that one sole facet, you're gonna face that identity crisis that was just mentioned, because you're not gonna know how to translate the skills that you had applied in sports into the other aspects of your life.
Wow. Yeah. No, what and this is, what do you, because you go and you teach, because dude, I now I want to sit in your audience, man, because I believe that I believe that you're freaking healing these folks. You're healing these folks. Your story is so powerful, and I'm so grateful to you, man. I'm so grateful to you for lending your story. If there's one thing that we did not discuss in this short time that you want my audience to know, you want the people in your life to know, the people that's coming in your life to know, if there's one thing that you can give them that you feel like they need to hear this in order to keep going, in order to reach their goals, in order not to freaking let mental health win, not to let the obstacles win that come in our way, not to let the pain get them down, but for them to get that perception, that you have. What is that one thing that you feel like that they need to hear?
I mean, kind of alluding to back when those guys told me that, they didn't give up because I didn't. I don't think you should ever underestimate the struggle you're going through, or overcoming that struggle, because you don't know if you're going to be the only one to come out from that, or you're not going to be the only one who's going to benefit from that. There's someone looking at you that you don't even know, or it could be in your immediate family, who's kind of counting on you to get through what you're going through, because they might not have that courage that you have to wake up every day. And then maybe you're that example, that when, I'm going through what I'm going through, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to give my best. You could be bringing people along with you that you have no idea about, and like for me, I didn't know I was bringing those guys along. I hoped I was, but you're not alone, and people, like, you are loved. And just because, you might not feel it doesn't mean that, you aren't in a community of people that are there to support you. And so, yeah, I mean, just sum it up, it's like, just never underestimate overcoming a struggle, because you might have not been the only one to grow from it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. That really touched my heart, because there was a period. Well, I think I can't even say it the right way. Not period, but there are periods of moments in my life where I'm just like, I got to do it. I got to put my head down, and I, which comes from ego. I. Even though you're going through it, it doesn't necessarily mean that just you need to go through it. And in order for you to come out on the other side, you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You need to have that community. You need to have that wherewithal to know that there is somebody out there that are aware of your blind spots. You just need to accept them. And if you're in this work that we're in, or even if you're not a speaker, even if you're not a Division I athlete, no matter where you're at in life, your story can help somebody else. Your story can help heal somebody else. And it's okay to tell your story. It's healing. There's power in healing and telling your story, not just from the sender, but the receiver. Mm-hmm. And man, Conner, dude, it's been a pleasure, man. Dude, I'm so inspired by you, dude. I can't wait to see what's going to come up next for you. I want to tell you, dude, with everything that I am, I love and appreciate everything that I see in you. And if there is something that I can ever do to support you, dude, please let me know. Dude, you have a friend in me. My community is your community. What is it? Sukasa, Mikasa? That's how you say it, right?
Something like that.
My house is your house.
Yeah.
I wish I knew how to say community in Spanish. If y'all watching this, it looks like we got quite a few people watching it. Talk to us a little bit before we get out of here. But how do I say community in Spanish? My community is Conner's community. How do I say? Mi casa, Conner's casa. What community? All right. Anyway, no, man. But yeah, dude, I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. We got a couple comments before we get out of here. Taking advantage of resources require you to put your pride and ego aside to save yourself. More need to hear this message. It's hard to ask for and receive help.
Yeah,
that's great. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, like I went through that same thing of just isolating, think I could do it by myself, and just putting your pride aside. Like that can be one of the most powerful things you can do, and because that allows you to grow. And I think that everything I have is because of the suffering and things I endured. And we were talking a little bit before the show, and I was saying that you look at the greatest minds or the most impactful people in the world. They are what they are because of what they went through. And I think that if you learn how to wield your suffering, it can be your greatest, superpower. And like, I got a chance to meet Inky Johnson and he was a first, prospective first, round draft pick, and he wouldn't change a thing.
Perception.
And you see people like, Nelson Mandela, the list goes on and on of like crazy people who endured so much, which equipped them to help more people than they could have ever imagined. And so I choose to think about it whenever I'm going through something. Some part of me is able to flip a switch and, for some reason, I'm going to be better equipped for this later on.
Yes, dude. Man, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
I don't know what happened. Good thing I got a backup camera. Oh, man. Yeah, I have no idea what just happened, but it's all good. I lost camera one. But yeah, dude, I think that's incredible. And it's funny that you say that you met Inky Johnson, because listening to your story and what Inky had to go through, what he had to endure, and then I hear him say, he wouldn't change a thing because it allowed him to get so much further and allowed him to bless so many people. That's funny that you say that, because I've been thinking about Inky during this whole thing. Like, oh my God, freaking Conner is the white Inky Johnson.
I can't take that title. I can't, but I appreciate it. No, to me, Inky, like I used to watch Inky's videos before every high school game, and then getting to meet him, like one of our team chaplain was like, "Hey, do you want to come watch this guy?" I was like, "You don't understand. This is like the biggest thing for me." And then getting to introduce myself to him and share a little bit about my story and how he helped me was just, amazing. And like it was just, a blessing to put myself in that position. But then again, I wouldn't have been put in that position if I had succumbed to the, suffering I was enduring. I would have never even been able to meet him. And so like everything I have is because of what I went through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good perspective. Got camera back one. That's a really good perspective, because we're all, if you're watching this, we're all going through something, right? We're all going through trials and tribulations. Anything that's breathing is overcoming an obstacle, right? That's what's keeping us going. I would encourage those folks that are going and have those obstacles in front of them. I would encourage them not to lay down for that obstacle. Just look at it as a rock, right? Or a big boulder. That's what I think about whenever I got an obstacle. Like, imagery is really important for me. I got this obstacle rolling down the hill. I'm at the bottom of the hill. What am I going to do? There's no way to run, right? But up at the obstacle, right? If I just lay down, I'm going to get smashed by it. No matter what, we have this fear of overcoming these obstacles because we feel like it's not going to work. But what do you have? You have to run towards the rock. You have to run towards the rock. There's no laying down. If you're going to die, you might as well die fighting. And that's one thing that I want to do, is I want to encourage everybody that's watching this is to die fighting. The battle that you're in, you're put in this battle for a reason, right? You're in this battle for a reason. And that's because something that's way greater than you, obviously is greater than you, because you're in the situation that you don't want to be in. So it's greater than you. There's something greater than you that puts you in this situation. There's something greater than you that believes that you have what it takes to get out of this situation. I heard this quote, God wouldn't put you to it if he did not think that you could get through it. And whatever it is that you believe, whatever higher power, there's some folks that believe that they're the higher power, and that's good. I see where they come from, but you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself enough to be able to get up and overcome this thing. So whatever thing it is that you all are going through, I want to encourage you to get up and overcome it. That's how you say my community is your community. I'm not going to dare say it because I don't want to mess it up, because it's such an important word. But yeah, man, that's for you. I mean that. Janelle, thank you for the comments. This is amazing. Thank you for tuning into the show. Everybody that's watching the show, thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Got some people that's lurking. I love y'all too, even though y'all not talking to me today. I love you too. We love you. Conner, it's been a freaking honor and a privilege. If you wouldn't mind hanging out in the green room while I wrap us up, dude, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. I loved it.
All right. Thank you, brother. Yeah, that was super good. Conner, like I said, man, there's something really, oh man, that happened to me again. So this is what happened when you get so inspired, you just start going and you don't even really prepare. I got cameras breaking down on me. But I'm good. Just like y'all are good. I want you all to know, man, I can't say it enough. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that support me. Like it means so much. I look at the comments, and sometimes I cannot get to all the comments because it's overwhelming as far as like trying to like write them back, but I see it there in my heart. I do end up writing everybody back. I just got to sit down to do it. So if you've messaged me and I haven't messaged you, it's not because I don't see it. I see it. I hear you. I appreciate you. I care for you. And we're done. Whew, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing. I'm not going anywhere. I forgot to. I'm not leaving. I'm not going. All right. I forgot to tell y'all about this amazing book, A Lion's Pride. It's an anthology put together by 10 really good brothers. And what we're doing is we're telling our stories. We're talking about some of the insurmountable odds that we've had to get through in order to be in the situations or have the opportunities that we have today. There's so many people online. There's so many people just in the community. All you see is the good things that they're freaking doing. You don't necessarily see the obstacles. You don't see the rocks coming down the hill, just like Conner and I were talking about. But this is that book. It's a book that's very special. It's the first book that I've ever been and had the honor of writing and creating. It was Amazon's #1 new release. It got to the #3 best release. It's incredible. I'm really, really, really excited about that book, about this book. So it's on Amazon. Pick it up. If for some reason you don't see it, just reach out to me and I will send you a copy myself. Something else that I got, if you're listening to this and you're just like, oh my God, how do I be a part of this community? What is it that I can do? Because I'm loving the material that I'm seeing. I'm loving everything that's coming out of this. I'll go ahead and ask you to, just like the last video, subscribe to the website, www.tonytaylorinspires.com. That's how you can connect with me. And also with the podcast, we're on Leaders Lead the Podcast. We're streaming on all your major networks. We just hit the top 5 global positions. So that means that not only we got folks online looking at us, we got folks, the podcasters looking at us. This podcast, it all started with a dream. Something else that we got working on is speakuniversity.org. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, but if you're interested in getting into speaking, but the only thing that's holding you back in speaking, and I'm just talking about the big stage, I'm talking about speaking in meetings and presentations, one-on-ones. You're not really hitting the mark when it comes to communication, and that fear is holding you back. Go ahead and scan. How do I do it? Yeah, there we go. I think I'm getting there. Right? Scan that right there to go to Speak University and enter in your information, and I'll get back to you. We have an amazing community of people that are just killing it when it comes facing their fear, and they are doing some amazing things. And we're going for real this time. All right, y'all. Take care. I love you from the bottom of my heart, and